That's a lot of capital to invest after a year, you know. How's the what is it, the 29,000 or the 39,000 beer?
That's our TC driver for Beercraft, but that's had a great effect. What it does, and I don't know if you'd really do that in fine dining because that's not you don't want.
There's gimmicks for everything.
You don't want, but you also don't. Do you want the guy who wants to come in and only spend $50K?
Nah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
But, you know, people can come in and like, all right, I'll get one of those, and then, oh, well, maybe I want a little more, and then they'll buy an order of just bacon, and they end up spending $120K. You still get a person. They think, oh, I got to spend $15 if I go in there. No, you can come in and spend $5.
Yeah. And get what you want, be happy.
Get a snack, and more is more. You know, it's the same reason McDonald's puts the $5,000 ice cream cone.
Upsales, man.
There's lots of Vietnamese who walk in and that's all they buy and they walk out. But there's lots of people who walk in because they see that, and then the next
there's a big menu in front of you. Oh, that's cheap.
Yeah, I want a cheeseburger. I want a cheeseburger. I want a cheeseburger, and then like, okay, maybe next time. You know,
there's a reason it's a multi-billion-dollar company. You know.
Works.
Those small upsales do great.
Customer satisfaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, plenty of times I go and I have the very beer you guys were talking about.
Customers never right.
Beer.
The teacher beer. That's the coined phrase right now. That's what I'll refer to it from now on.
And it's you know it's that's a lot of people come here like myself. You get going and you got a good gig, but you don't want to be out blowing money every night.
Yeah.
So, you know you have.
That's something you can do regularly. Yeah.
So this will be about your story. Pretty simple. I mean, the goals, just how did this come to be? I have some questions definitely about Portland. I lived there for a short time.
Yeah, it was me also. We have proclaimed Portland because my wife is from Portland. She spent about 10 years in Portland. But I was only in Portland for about a year and a half.
Oh, well, that's still a good amount of time.
Yeah, a little bit of time, but it's typically the same thing I do here. I pretty much just work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep.
Gotcha.
Try to fit in the gym when I can. But
whereabouts was where were you living in?
So I was living in the Pacific Northwest. I was in St. John's. So at that time, St. John's was not really a great area. Now it's kind of gentrified a bit, and there's a lot more people, investors coming in to rebuild the area.
Okay.
So nowadays, St. John's is beautiful. But when I was living there, it was
not great because of...
a little bit sketchy.
Oh, okay,
a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, I was in Oregon in 2004, or 2005, I mean, and then a year later, and they're having a big meth problem. And
it's rampant.
A lot of transient people. I myself.
The only thing I really disliked about Portland was the transient community.
Yeah.
To me, there's homeless community everywhere. It doesn't bother me much, but when it comes and directly affects my life every day, I have to go to work, I have to deal with it. It's not really a key selling point for me wanting to return. You know, I love Portland, but it's got its good, it's got its bad. Here, there's more good than there is bad. In Vietnam, it's really quite a beautiful contradiction. You know, it's. I think we're all here for the same reason. We're all here for business and pleasure, of course, because this is something we can do here that we can't typically do back home. You know, this is. Is
that what originally brought you out here? Was the opportunity?
When Jane and I met, we were working at I wouldn't call it a low-end Italian restaurant, but it was definitely more chain. So I think the company had 8 stores at the time, 8 to 10 stores, and it was a place called Pastini, and it was just a pasta house. Everything box pastas, and then a few sauces here and there. Intermittent soups, they changed about 12 different soups they changed. But we met, I was working in the kitchen and she was working front of house. And I'd never met a girl like Jane before.
Another chef hitting on the wait staff.
Yeah, it does happen. It does happen. I'd never met somebody like Jane before. So to me, it was you're kind of annoying, but I kind of like you, you know, so I want to find out what this really is. So in the beginning, we were just talking, hanging out. We'd go out with all the staff, we'd go out and have drinks after work. And there was one night we were on the east side, and it's probably about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we were all pretty smashed. And at that point, the transit had stopped running, so I have to take a cab home. So she asked, well, do you want to come back to my house, and we'll just hang out. So I say, okay. We go to her house. She lives way outside the city. She lives in Beaverton, so it takes about 45 minutes to get out there. And we get there, we hang out, watching. We've always watched food shows from the moment we walk in the house to the time we wake up the next morning. Food shows are on TV. So we lay on the couch. There's 2 couches in the house. She's got the share couch was 3-seat, and then the 2-1. I had the 2-1. She had the 3, of course. It's her house. But fall asleep, and the next morning we walk back to the train to go back to work. And at this time, I was still pretty new in Portland, so I didn't really know how the transit system worked. So I didn't know I could use my credit card. I had no cash on me. So first time we were hanging out, and I asked her, can I have $2.50 for the train? And she looks at me like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is how our first meeting goes. So about 3 months goes by, we don't talk, we don't hang out anymore. So I guess that was a selling point that, why does he even have $2.50 for the transit? What's he good for? So about 3 months go by, we start hanging out again, and then the idea comes up to go to Vietnam. She's Vietnamese, she's from here, but she was well-traveled. She spent about 7 years in New Zealand, and then went to New York after that, and then Portland State for college. So she asked, do I want to go to Vietnam? And I'm pretty sure before she could even get it out of her mouth, I was, let's go. I have nothing tying me here. I'm still learning a few things here and there. So for me, it was an opportunity to see the world. For me, as a kid, I never thought I would leave the United States, ever. Travel around here and there, but the thought of leaving the comfort zone for me is a little terrifying.
There's the
typical American guy. Yeah. So once the idea came up about going to Vietnam, I really kind of set my head to it. Like, this is what we're going to do. So her grandmother had a stroke, so she had to come back before to be with the family and kind of check everything out and to see what our plan is once we get here. So she came back here and spent about a month here. And then when she finished, she came back to the States, and we kind of tied everything up. I finished my 2 jobs and kind of just wrapped everything up, packed everything in, and then I think we had about 14 luggages we shipped out here. So we bought everything in the States. We had no idea what we could get here. We bought kitchen knives, everything. Mm-hmm. So the fun part was shopping. The worst part was packing 14 boxes to ship internationally, because I know you guys have probably flown a few times, so
sure.
The boxes when you leave are not the boxes when you arrive. So a little different.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun in the beginning, because for both of us, it was our first business. And for me, I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning. Not a clue. I had a passion, didn't have enough knowledge to get us where we wanted to be yet. So the first year was really kind of an uphill battle. How to run my own kitchen, how to train staff that I can't communicate with, trying to find the right flavor profiles that work for everybody here.
Now, did Jane, when did she leave you? Like, did she speak Vietnamese fluently?
When she first came back, she had to kind of brush back up on it. Okay. It was something she knew. It's like riding a bike. You can pick it back up again, but you're going to have to learn the little things along the way that make it easier. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, it was a little tough, language-wise.
But there was some communication.
Yes, there was some. For me, it's been kind of hard. Language is a tough one for me. Okay. If it comes to food, I can learn very quickly. But if it's language, it's going to take me a little while. So
yeah,
it's hard. It's a hard language.
That was one of the biggest things. It even still affects how I work with my staff.
Mm.
I haven't picked the language up. I haven't worked at it that hard because I'm not good at it either.
I have to invest a lot of time into it in order to get it to that next level. And right now, I'm kind of trying to focus on the food side and kind of focus on itemizing absolutely everything to make a system that is easy to train staff that come in, because we go through staff very quickly. For them here, it's boring because sometimes we have quiet days, and then when the busy days come along, they are frantic and they don't know what to do. For me, I could just turn it off and turn it on. When it's slow, it's like, enjoy it. It's going to be slow only for a little while, and then when it comes back in, it's going to be busy, busy, busy. You guys need to be able to do 100% right away. So the staffing is always a problem, and I think not only here, in the States too, when I talk to my chef friends back home, staffing is always an issue. There's never anybody who says, this is the best part about it is staffing, you know. My employees are the greatest, you know, it's wonderful. So it's a little tricky. Jane is really good as far as management goes. She's good at building a camaraderie and getting people to kind of follow her way of doing things, which is tricky for me because I do things much differently than she does. So they tend to look at Jane as sort of the god of the bistro. So I'm kind of like the demigod hanging out in the kitchen, like, come on guys, this is how we're really going to do it. So what was putting a timeline on it? When did you get your first place in Vietnam open? Was that in? That was the beginning of 2015. That was, I believe, March 14th of 2015. Oh. And the way, it's really funny in Vietnam, I know you guys probably do business differently, but we follow Jane's family on how to do business. So for them, and for a lot of people, there's what we call lucky days. There are days that we have to open the restaurant by to appease the gods because this is how they do it. This is their belief. So we needed about 2 more weeks to set up and kind of get everything dialed in. And they said, no, you have to open in 4 days. So I can't cure a salmon in 4 days, not the way I want it. So everything in the beginning was tough because we had to kind of throw everything together as fast as we can at the last minute. So in the beginning, we were not ready. So we were a bit not in the place we wanted to be in order to get to where we needed to be. But when we first opened, it was interesting because Jane and I had just started dating when we opened a business together. So I don't know how most people see it from the outside. It's like, oh, that's great. You get to hang out with your best friend every day, you know, do it. It's like, have you guys met Jane? Like, she's a lovely woman.
Well, that could be stressful under any circumstances.
It's a lot of fun though. It's getting to know somebody as well as opening a business with them, I think, is in itself pretty awesome because you really get to see who that person is when it comes down to it. You know, if things are good, you see how they are when things are good. And when things are really, really bad and rough, you get to see who is going to be there with you at the end. So it was pretty awesome to learn that together. So over 4 years, we've learned quite a bit about how to run the business and run a marriage together, you know, because balancing the two is hard. Most people can't leave work at work when they go home. You know, it's, you go home, you're thinking about it. I'm thinking about food. I'm thinking about different dishes. You know, you're thinking about, I'm going to put Skittles in a sausage, you know, like to me, like that's what it's all about. That's the love of it.
It's all about Skittles sausage.
Sausage. That's the most fun about it, though. It really is.
Do you think that you and Jane are good at turning it off? You go home and don't talk
No,
about work?
we'll talk shop until 3 o'clock in the morning,
Gotcha.
and that's a regular thing. But it's something I'm trying to bring a close to is that kind of leave work at work. We want to start a family eventually, so I think building the routine of having shop be shop and then home is home is something we want to practice at. Yeah. For me, it doesn't work because when it comes to cooking, it's passion. So I feel it all day. It's all I think about is food. I don't think about anything else.
It can come up at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, and typically we don't go to bed till 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. So we're still stuck in the lifestyle of American style cooks and servers to where you get done at work at midnight, you go out. Bars close at 2, after party at friends' houses. By the time you go home, it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Ho Chi Minh City also is a good place for trying to find something to do at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, street food doesn't close. It's amazing. Yep. It's amazing. We're lucky that we're out here, though. I think if we were in District 1, we would probably focus a lot less on the business than we do now, you know, because there is so much more to do, you know, because even when we finish at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, you know, we can just walk outside and there's tons of stuff to do. Around here, it's kind of quiet. You know, it's kind of, Phu My Hung's a little bit quiet at night. Few places open, but you know, it's the same places every night. District 1, District 2, there's something different every time.
Yeah, District 2 has changed quite a bit.
I haven't been out there since
I live in District 2 now for a year, and I have a hard time getting out of it now.
It's the same way I think for everybody is the different districts aren't too far away from each other, but mentally they are, because it's like I gotta get on my bike, I gotta go through the tunnel to District 1, and then when I'm finished, I gotta go back over. It's like, I don't want to do that. For me, it's like an 11-minute motorbike ride into District 1, but I fight it to go in anytime I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing with District 2.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they're building that the highway connection between.
So for,
They've been talking
D2
about
and
that.
D7.
Yeah.
for our
I've been seeing
listeners,
it over the Thiêm
Really?
tunnel. They've had scaffolding up. They poured some concrete.
Yes. That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
amazing. Because I think we'd go to District 2 pretty often, because there's quite a few restaurants out that we've heard
Sure.
great things about. But we going into District 1 and then out to District 2, that's a headache.
Yeah, we popped over after a taxi and midday it was still 25 minutes, half an hour.
Really? Oh,
25
wow.
minutes maybe.
Jeez.
But like with traffic, that bumps up to an hour.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Especially you get the afternoon
So-
traffic.
just for our listeners that aren't in Ho Chi Minh City, because there's a few of them, or quite a few of them, District 1 is the city center. And if you go kind of north, you're into District 2, and if you go kind of southwest, you're into District 7. So that's the District 7 to District 2 is the long journey that
Yeah, it'd be,
nobody wants to make.
I guess you could say it's kind of like Queens and Greenpoint, if you think of it in New York terms. If anyone
Never been.
anyone-
That's a place I'd love to go for
If
food.
you're in Chicago, it'd be North Side, Wrigleyville,
okay.
downtown, Rush Street, Gold Coast, South Side, Comiskey Park, White Sox. So it seems really far from each other, but they're all hop on the highway in 10 minutes.
Even if you take public transit, you're going to get there in no time.
Yep. It's the same thing over here in Ho Chi Minh City.
Well, we might as well say it. We've been talking. This is Sexy Meat Talks. So we're here with Chef Michael Rose, and we're gonna get into more of your origin story as we're talking along. I, of course, am Josh, and this is Mark.
Yep.
Just
And
to get that out of the way
we're
for listeners.
at Michael Rose's establishment with Jane, his wife. Yeah, she's not here today, but
In spirit.
we are at Jane's Bistro, and we're gonna tell Michael's story today.
And this is in Phu My Hung, which is I'm guessing is still the most populated, or I guess the most popular part of District 7
Yes.
for expats.
Yes. There's not much area outside of Phu My Hung that is District 7.
Yeah.
Pretty small areas. But even the outskirt areas are really coming up. It's really nice.
This is also Korean town, so it's a lot of Korean food, a lot of Korean people, Korean schools, businesses, all sorts. It's one part of the city you can actually see Hangul. I forget what you call the alphabet, Korean alphabet, but I think it's Hangul. I'm probably butchering that. I might edit that out.
I won't try that one. This is a wonderful area to be in.
Well, let's pop back to your origins as a chef. So, when you were younger, one thing we like to ask our the people we interview, where did your inspiration start?
To be honest, if I have to nail it down to anything, is when I was a kid, my grandfather was the type of man that every morning he got up and cooked breakfast for everybody. But this was country style breakfast, to where when we made pancakes, it was in about a 1/4 inch of Crisco in a cast iron, and those are the pancakes we had. So in the summers, I would spend time in Sacramento, and I would go up with my family. We'd go up, stay at his house for, I think it was about a week or two. And pretty sure during that time, I probably put on like 25 pounds. And as a 10-year-old child, that was a good amount. But he was the one who really turned me on to the pleasure side of food in the beginning. So from him, it was kind of always innately part of me that I want to do something like that. But when, I didn't know yet. So when I was born in California, but my aunt and uncle were military, and my mom always followed them everywhere. So I'd like to call myself a military brat, because we pretty much ran the same route they did. So we all lived together in California, and California was an amazing place for food, because having the Mexican influence about food as a child really kind of opens your eyes to how amazingly simple and delicious things can be. Fish tacos, for the rest of my life, will be one of my favorite foods of all times.
Awesome.
So Mexican food is really where I kind of have appreciated food as a younger age. That's something that I probably would never take for granted ever. If anybody said, well, if there's a cuisine you have to pick, I mean, I like them all, but fish tacos, if that's just a cuisine in itself, that's enough for me to say this is what it is. So from there, go ahead.
Obviously, you can cook yourself. Is there a place in the city you like to go to?
I don't really go out much.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't go out much. I've heard many great things about a few places doing tacos, but I haven't had a chance to try any yet. But I know that Bowie's doing good tacos, so I've heard. So he's the Sancho's owner that sold his establishment. Now he's doing, was it El Camino now, right?
Yeah. So that's Calvin.
Calvin, yeah, Bowie. So I've heard good things about him.
Yeah, they just opened a location in District 2.
Yeah.
And I've had, I went in and had 2 different tacos. My wife got a burrito bowl. I loved the tacos. They were loaded with meat. He's doing a mashup of Korean and, it's a playful menu.
Korean tacos you just get with.
He has I think it was like a bulgogi beef burrito. I'm making it up right now. I just remember it was a mashup of Korean and whatever he was doing, it worked. They were delicious. They're really good.
Yeah.
And they were great value too. There was a lot of meat in them. There's a lot of good stuff going with Mexican food around the city right now. Just starting to get better.
Note to anybody listening, work and play should be balanced. Don't do all work. Go out and have kimchi, Korean bulgogi tacos. Split it up. But from there, from California, we moved to Arizona. And in Arizona, the Southwest style of food is really nice. It's not something I really have tied myself to as far as flavor profiles and style, because for me, I hate the desert. It's terrible. I hate the desert. So a lot of inspiration did not come from living in Arizona. But after Arizona, we moved to North Carolina, and we were just outside Jacksonville in a little town called Wilmington. And Wilmington had some of the best barbecue I've ever had. And that was when it really started. It's like, this is great. So when you live in the South, you get to experience different things like crab boils, oyster shuckings, you get to go clamming, you get to do the things that most people think like, well, these are farmed, this just comes from a big factory. No. When you do these things on a small scale, you get so much pride from it, and they taste better. Everything you get to pick by yourself and do by yourself is amazing. And some of the best experiences I've ever had as far as food goes comes down to having 150, can I say rednecks? 150 rednecks at a party, Miller Lite, Coors Light, and crab boil is one of the best experiences ever, because that style of food, that Cajun, that Creole, is really, as most people would call umami, this is kind of my foundation of umami. This is where flavors really are highlighted just through an ingredient such as heat. Everything else that goes into these cookouts, these are guys that probably work 80-hour weeks doing construction, but then on the weekends they come home and they have 100 people over and they're doing big metal trash cans full of crabs and crawfish and different types of shellfish. Is amazing. Wilmington was one of the greatest, I think, unknown, unrespected spots of the South, because it's just a college town. To everybody see it, it's just a beach town. There's not much to it.
Is that the southeast?
That's southeast, yeah.
Okay.
It's probably just about an hour and a half north of Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's a big military place, because you have Camp Lejeune, and then you have another military base outside of Fayetteville. And when I first started working, I was working at a coffee shop. And working at a coffee shop, you meet a lot of cool people, so you get the opportunity to do things like that. But as far as food goes, I didn't really get involved into food until I moved to Portland. I worked a couple jobs here and there. My first job was Fat Tony's pizza place, Italian pizza place. And that was a lot of fun. pizzerias are a lot of fun to work at. But from there, I kind of learned how the system of the kitchen works and kind of how everything's set up, in order to be efficient, But Italian food was not something I really found passion in. To me, it was sort of just food, just filling. But when I was in Wilmington, from the age of 19 till 24, I worked the cafe, and then I worked security at different bars and clubs. So from there, I kind of got a feel of what I didn't want to do. I'm going to do this for a couple of years and then decide to do something different. But when I left Wilmington, I had 1 month's rent and 2 luggages, and I said, I want to go to Portland, I want to do food. So I somehow made it work that within 1 month of being in Portland, I was able to find another place to live, be able to pay all my bills, and kind of build up from there. So
Just barely able to pay your bills?
Man, I was all right. I was doing all right.
You had to borrow money for transit fare, but that's about
it. Yeah, I'll never hear the end of that one. But it was moving to Portland, I think, was one of the greatest experiences for anybody at that age of mid-20s, to where they're just starting to figure out what type of person they are and what things they enjoy. That point in time was kind of the pinnacle of what I wanted to be in life. Most people say, as a kid, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a firefighter, things like that. For me, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I knew pretty much next to nothing about food, except for I really enjoy cooking it, I really enjoy doing it and being in the environment. And the kitchen lifestyle, as in the drama, the anxiety, the pressure, that is something that I would not ever imagine living without. That is something that gets me out of bed in the morning every day. So it's most people, that's what they hate about a kitchen. Mm-hmm. Most people think, I work so hard, I can't do this. For me, that is my favorite part. And of course, the food.
Do you view it kind of like a battle or a challenge a little bit? Like it's something you can...
It's helped me kind of, I think, learning how to be at peace in the commotion, I think has helped me as an adult to kind of balance my goods and bads, And it's good. It's good when there's that much pressure. It really kind of forces you to think outside the box when it comes to food, because a lot of people cooking in the States, it's pretty easy. As long as it's 70%, people are gonna be pretty happy. But here, even if you make it what you think is perfect, a lot of people aren't gonna like it. So getting the chance to kind of reconstruct your flavor profile, what you thought was genuinely going to be successful, learning that is incorrect and having to readjust your life based on what your difficulties are every day, I think that was amazing.
Yeah, well, Mark can add some insight to this too, but let's dive a little deeper into that. So like when you first came to Vietnam, had you a lot of experience with the flavor profile here at the Vietnamese?
I had to change everything that I thought I knew about food.
So, in a very similar way, I was coming over here with more than 20 years experience on barbecues and smokers, and I'm really a American comfort food and barbecue. It was my Cadillac. That was my best stuff, and that was what we were building our menu on. And I quickly learned that I way over salt for these people. It's like I don't like it when stuff's over salted, but growing up in Chicago, they season stuff, man. And here, it seems like in general you get your salt from fish sauce. They don't necessarily salt what they're, because so that was one of the big adjustments I had to make right away. It's like, okay, that's not seasoned enough, but they like it that way. Figuring out what it is they like and then adjusting to it. Yeah, it was huge.
For me, I think a lot of the issue is that in Asia, it's such an old culture that people have found new ways to kind of salt things with different ingredients.
You can join us.
Sit.
Water is fine.
I would love a coffee, sure.
We can add
the American umami is not really up to par as far as international standard goes. Salt and pepper, there's so much more to it. Once I came to Asia, I realized that a lot of food pairings I did were based on things I knew before. But then, there's a book out there called the Flavor Bible, and a lot of that is sort of just theory, to where when I first started building menus and first started building recipes, that was my go-to. Everything that I thought I knew, that was in that book. So when I first started building, I realized that a lot of people don't like these flavors together. They want salty and sweet. They want umami and spicy. They want different.
Yeah, umami. I've learned out here a lot more about what umami is. A lot of Americans get it from sources they don't realize they're even getting it from. That's why they're putting ketchup on their fries. There's a lot of glutamates in tomatoes. There's also a lot of other added things.
And when that hits your palate with a French fry, a crunchy, crispy French fry, oh, it's heaven.
Yeah, but I mean, like you know what I'm saying? But here it's like they're extracting this from this and then adding umami this way. And an example is seaweed and all these other things that
dried shrimp.
A little hit of this makes the whole thing pop.
Yeah.
In American cooking, that's what I learned. It's like, oh, that's where I was getting my umami.
Yeah.
That's why this works. That's why we put Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah.
Because
that's our umami. To us, that's our normal. That's what we're used to.
Well, yeah, it's made from Worcestershire sauce is made from tamarind and anchovies. It's our fish sauce. But because it doesn't taste exactly like fish, it's okay for everyone.
Yeah. That was the big thing for me. Is when I first came here, I said, why does everybody use fish sauce and everything? As I stay here longer, I realize how amazing of an ingredient fish sauce is. To the point that in some recipes, I will swap out salt for fish sauce and cook it way out. So people don't realize it's in there. The caramel flavors will be in there. That sweet undertone will be in there. But people won't realize that when I sous vide my fish, on this menu actually, when I sous vide my fish, it's a puree of dill, fish sauce, garlic, and oil, So when I do that, people are thinking, well, this is just a rich piece of fish. No, this is a very mellow piece of fish with umami, And people think, wow, this is different. And to me, it was, the fish sauce is very diverse because depending on where you go in the world and who you're cooking for, say you're in the Mediterranean, fish and seafood is one of the biggestly consumed items. So you start thinking about it in that way that if you replace common home ingredients that people have been using for generations with something new like fish sauce, it changes the game. And now you're creating, I hate the term, but people call fusion. Fusion is kind of a misconception because I think a lot of people think that fusion is just two styles of food. No, fusion is two very old-fashioned styles of food, like Macau-style duck, and then something very French, like a boeuf bourguignon, things like that. You mix those two amazing things together and create something. That's fusion. But just saying you throw fish sauce and ketchup for French fries, people call that fusion. That's not fusion. So I think it's amazing that we can have fusion without actually having to call it fusion.
Like Skittle sausage.
Like Skittle sausage. Snarsage. That's going to be amazing.
Skittlesage.
Scossage.
No,
but the people aren't going to know what it is. You say scossage, but
that's not fusion. That's confusion.
That's diffusion. Yeah,
that's a new style of cooking. Confusion.
People have no idea what they're eating.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the thing is if you can find that balance where people have no idea what they're eating and they enjoy it.
Have you ever done the dining in the dark experience?
I haven't. When we first came here, Noir was open, but we haven't been in.
We, me and Tim, my partner, and a bunch of people in the brewing community here in Saigon, we got beers from Pastor Street and East West and all the craft beer companies that have set up here, and we brought them to the owner of the establishment and said, we want to do a pairing of these are the beers, these are the flavor profiles. And they did an awesome job. They set up a whole meal in the dark where it was the people from each of the companies, the brewers and the sales reps, and they drink their own beers. No one guessed their own stuff right.
No way. Hey.
I drank my own summer ale, which I drink on a regular basis, But this is going back to what you were talking about before, is the point I'm getting to. And like you said, fusion is not just, okay, Mexican food with Korean ingredient in it, that's fusion. No, it's not. It's a taco with Korean ketchup.
Some gochujang on there, you know.
But what is fusion is when you take two old world things and make something new that works. And that's where this kind of reversed that. Like, your visual and what you see and what you taste. I tasted the summer ale. It's a very light beer. It's lightly spiced with coriander and the Buddha hand zest, so like lemony note. There's a citrus note. There's a citrus note in a lot of these beers that we were tasting that night from the hops. I couldn't identify the difference. And it was in the dark. I'm like, this one tastes a little more malty. Maybe this is almost a dark beer, like an amber or something. It was my summer ale. It's a 4.2 super blonde beer. And it was paired with, I forget what exactly the dish was, but figuring out what I was even eating without my eyes telling me, all that stuff changed, but in the dark, it worked in different ways.
That's cool.
I identified it differently. So like that whole thing, like what you're saying about fusion, it's like, it's not just putting two, I got a French technique done on a Japanese dish. It's not what it's really about. What it's really about is the sum of those two things, making something better than the two parts.
Yeah, and what that creates as a whole to be even better than the two separate.
I don't know if I got my point across about how that reversed. Like, what I expected things were in the dark, though, I identified something totally different.
I think
so did everyone else at that thing.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is even though I'm not sure how long they've been around, but we've been here almost 5 years. And
they've been there about that long.
Yeah. They were cutting edge at that time. Because when we first moved here, I had heard about a couple of restaurants doing dining in the dark. Because like you said, things that you know very well, things you have often, without all of your senses combined to have that product, you lose 1 sense, 2 cents, and you're relying on something else, you have no idea. Like if you think about it in the sense, maybe you dine in the dark, but you're also hard of hearing, you're hearing impaired. But they serve a chicharron, and you don't get that crunch, that hearing crunch, that audio crunch. It's going to be a little bit different just eating it and relying just upon the other elements of your senses to do that. So the experience is so different. Even what they do is still to this day, in my eyes, cutting edge. Because everything that you find...
And actually, what was also a nice part of the experience was they took it a step further. All of their wait staff are blind people.
I heard that. Yeah.
And they say that, this is they know how to go around and serve the food, and they find you. Everything was put down. Nothing was spilled. I mean, they know their job. They touch the tables. They walk. We had to do the same thing being led to our table. I mean, there is no light. And what it did is, like, you really appreciated, first of all, this restaurant is giving these blind people an opportunity.
Absolutely.
But you also get to experience the world that they live in. And they're not.
This is what they're
not
doing when they
exploiting
wake
them
up.
in any way.
So when they go to bed,
They're exploiting you for not knowing what they have to
They
go
have
through.
gainful employment, and typically it's very hard once you lose a sense like that to have gainful employment. That's hard. No, that's amazing.
And when they turned on the lights, the staff were all smiling, and they're blind. They're extremely happy to be serving you, and they did a great job. And it was like, it was a 3/4 of the way through it. I'm like, all right, just turn the lights on now. Can we just walk out of here with the lights on?
After a big meal, trying to walk out.
You start to realize just how much your sight affects how you eat a meal, and then it gives you the bigger picture of what those people live with missing that sense. It was a really intense experience.
That's amazing.
That's
it's
really
definitely.
I've never done something like that, but
That's
really
definitely
wanted
something
to.
I want to get in there to do.
It's funny, like Pastor Street, Misha was there. He didn't guess when he was drinking the Jasmine IPA.
No way.
I mean, it messed with you so much because you were also trying to figure out what you were eating. I'm like, well, there's cauliflower in here, or is that broccoli? No, this is a soup.
But it speaks so much to how emotion just affects how you enjoy something like food.
Yeah.
You enjoy something that you have on average 3 times a day, every day. But this leads to a question we like to ask all of our guests. we're kind of like your guests here because we're at your place. But so one thing that we like to ask is there a meat story from when you were young? I guess similar to the pancake story, but is there?
This is meat talks.
Yeah,
this is meat talks.
This is meat talks. Is there a moment that sticks out as?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's two. There's three, but I'm just gonna give two. One is being in North Carolina. They have what they call a Carolina barbecue, which is just pork shoulder. But the way they cook it, the way they smoke, and they slow roast, the texture of the Carolina pork is amazing. North Carolina has they have a big farm there. I can't remember the name, but they have they have wild boar, and I think it's actually called wild boar. But the pork that they're using is so amazing. So once they roast it out, the sauce they use for it is kind of like an sweet apple cider chili sauce. It's very simple, very basic.
Yeah.
But that flavor, that umami that stands out, that was hands down. I think that goes back to the pig queef de bone. Carolina barbecue is hands down one of the best barbecues or meats I've had in the world. Everywhere we've gone, nothing has stood out like that. And then, this isn't so much as a meat as it is a seafood, but I have another story. I was in Georgia with my friend at the time. We were spending time with his dad down in Georgia. And we went to Miss Irma's house. She's a 97-year-old woman. And typical Southern women, they want to cook. So we go in, she says, you guys want to have shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and grits. And me at the time, not really understanding what kind of experience that was. In hindsight, when I look back on it, I realized how lucky it was to have that. But that was amazing to have seafood done by a woman who had seen a whole century cook it for me. To me, that was amazingly special. That was something I will, even on my deathbed, I'll think back on my life, and that one will pop up to you like, oh yeah, that was my favorite. So
That's really cool.
So you would say sexiest meat you ever put in your mouth is the Carolina shoulder?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then your favorite moment of putting
Shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and grits.
Nice.
I like lots of meats in my mouth.
Yeah, I can't narrow it down to just one.
Nah,
It
there's
comes up
so
with
many.
every podcast.
There's so many. And then in Portland they had Fogo de Chao, and we went there for my birthday a few years ago, and that was amazing. Brazilian steakhouse. They know what they're doing. And that was the fact that they have a coaster on the table that is one side green, one side red. And as long as you have that flipped on green, they are just dumping meat on your plate. That was one of the greatest experiences ever.
Cool.
Oh yeah. You flip it when your plate's about that high. You flip it back to the red.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah,
Feel
it's
full
great.
just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's great.
There's some Brazilian barbecue places near my hometown in Danbury, Connecticut.
Mm.
So
There's a couple here in the city that do the same thing.
I've been hearing about it.
Barbecue.
Yeah, I've been hearing about it. So Jane's here with us now. We have the proprietor.
The famous Jane that we were talking about early in the interview.
Yeah. How's it going today?
Good.
Excellent.
Yeah. Typical day off. So, yeah.
Hopefully we don't eat up too much of your time.
No, this is the highlight of our day.
No. This is actually one of a nice day that we don't have to do anything pretty much.
Awesome.
But normally Monday is our work day as well. So we run around and
But you guys got business.
yeah, a little try up and everything. So it's nice. It's nice to take a break a little bit.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier in the interview about the old place. We didn't talk much about it, but
Well, yeah.
we started to talk about when you first got open, how you got rushed. But
Yeah.
tell us about the first place that you were in when you first started doing business.
When we first opened, it was perfect for us because we were still getting our feet. So it was great to start in a small location. What worked well for us too is when you build a name for a business, it's very hard to just go from 0 to 100 to where you're doing 50, 75 covers a day. It's really hard. So starting in a small location is great. As time went on, we realized that the location was like a large shoebox. When we look back on it, we appreciate every minute of being there because we learned so much being in a place like that. And grateful. absolutely grateful to have the beginnings that we had, because we didn't do it on our own. You know, the family helped us to do everything. You know, if we hadn't had them, we'd have been out in the first year. So having a small restaurant to start in was more helpful than it was detrimental. You know, it was a great learning curve.
What is that place now? Is it back at just
Soul Restaurant? Yeah, it's a Korean.
It's just a
Soul
couple of
restaurant.
street down from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a couple of street down from here, but I wouldn't say it was our vision of what a restaurant could be, but we did not have a choice because, first of all, we here just two of us. We don't have any backup. We don't have any, support or friends. Or most of the time, when you open a business, you have connections or friends that you can at least invite them into the business. But then we don't have any of that. So for us, it was a must to survive because we have to somehow make the food to eat ourselves, because it wasn't any place that offered the same Western food that you would normally have back home. Most of the
Handmade
time,
everything. Yeah.
not exactly have to be handmade, but just the same feel, where you can have a bowl of pasta and stuff your face with 300 grams of steak that nobody's judging. So I think that was the personal, I would say, decision for us, that because we didn't know what we have to do, and of course we wouldn't want to go out to D1 because we had nothing tied up there, where our main reason to came back here was for our grandmother, who resigned in Phu My Hung. So we want to be close, and and he was a chef, and I worked in hospitality for so many years. So what else are we gonna do now? If we work for someone or somewhere else, then we wouldn't have as much time to spend with family as our main reason to come back here. So we had to think about something. Well, let's figure it out. You can cook, I can serve. So here you go. A 3-table. Later on, it's extended to 5-table restaurant that just under the apartment that where we were staying. But time by time, and years by year after, we just realized that we can't have a professional restaurant from our kitchen, from our own personal kitchen. It helped a lot in the beginning, and without that we wouldn't be here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something I want to add,
I just wanted to, for our listeners, because I know the story, but
Yeah.
when I came here today, I'm like, wait, we gave the address to the cab, and there it is. It's on the corner now. This ain't the same place.
Yeah, there's
And
no
it's
way.
like, I'm like, oh, we have to tell the story of how they started and let everyone know, because now this is beautiful. They have
Thank you.
they have a new corner location in the same area of the city, just a block away or two, and it's I would say 4 times the size, 5 times the size.
5 times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty big compared to what we were in.
Yeah.
I have to say, for the people listening, to kind of encompass the size of it, we had a review. Probably, I think it's about a year and a half in, 2 years in. We had a review where a Korean man, I had to translate it because obviously I don't read it. So, but the way Google translated it, and I thought it was quite fitting. They said it's like it's like eating dinner in an orgy, because everybody's kind of on top of each other.
No, I do not appreciate that.
It's probably maybe a little lost in translation, but maybe.
I think so, but I thought,
I
I
would
like the
hope most of
sentiment.
people don't read the translations. It's like, what, are you going to a whorehouse now? No, I don't want that.
Food orgy, I'm okay with that.
No. And,
That's all right.
Eating on top of each other.
No.
This is real meat talks, you know.
In Japan, they serve food off of women's bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, lick it up.
Nikatomi or something. What's the style called? I can't remember.
I don't know. I just enjoy telling people that story. I don't even know anything else about it.
Yeah.
That puts dining in the dark in a little retrospect, you know?
Dining after dark.
Dining after dark.
Maybe you should introduce the flower that I just introduced to you.
Or the vagina flower, the blue flower. Yeah. There's a flower that grows in Vietnam, and I'm pretty sure most of Asia.
Yeah.
It's almost like indigo color. Blanch it in water, turns blue. But we found out recently
Is it a
that
nice edible flower?
Yeah.
yeah, that in Malaysia they call it the vagina flower. That's the way it translates.
And
It's not that far off the old gooey duck.
The gooey duck.
So gooey duck is the clam that looks.
Yeah.
that look like the.
But the word gooey duck is from west tribesmen of the Native Americans. The word means like your
Penis.
Genitals.
It means both genitals. So it's
Really?
a literal translation for cock and balls.
Wow.
That's what
No way.
that's what gooey duck means in their language.
No way.
So they mean the shell is the balls and the clam is actually the penis.
Is it kind of like an
I-
Aborigine community, or is it a little bit more established? Like what? do you
No,
know the
that
name?
was in the Puget Sound area. where-
Ah, okay.
That's where the word,
Okay.
the natives called it the gooey duck. And then
Right.
I was reading on Wikipedia because we had a gooey duck. We did an interview with Tim, my business partner,
Yeah.
and we got a gooey duck for the interview.
No.
And I made a quick sashimi out of it. And
Yeah.
Oh, not just that. Mark made it squirt.
Yeah. Oh, please.
They have to be very fresh, so it was
They gotta be happy.
I pick it up and I'm getting ready to remove the shell, and it just started spraying it, and like we got it on video, and
It was really funny.
Huge pleasure.
it made
Yeah.
So
They also have
it's
a
not
defense.
just you guys with your
No,
vagina
it's
flower. We already went there.
They've got
Oh
a
my
defense.
God.
They've got a defense mechanism that when they get scared, there's a white goo they spit out, but it's actually part of its flesh. Have you seen that?
Oh, that's a sea cucumber, right?
That's a sea cucumber, not the geoduck.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the reason why is it can regrow. They actually spit up their inside guts.
Is that what that is?
That's what that is, and they can regrow them very quickly. And I guess how it evolved that way is the animal that's attacking them gets a little something to eat, and it can quickly get away.
And he's good. He just carries on and
Yeah.
regrows.
Well,
Wow.
here, have some of my guts.
Wow, March. So you experiencing it.
He knows
Well,
that.
I actually know that because I was watching one of those stupid survival shows.
Yeah.
And the guy was explaining, I can harvest the gut out of
It's
these.
amazing where this
so
information
he's
comes
picking
from.
up these sea cucumbers on the episode,
Mark's
and
really good at
squirting it
bullshit.
onto his hand, and
He
then
did
getting
this
another
really
one, and then he's eating it, and he's like
That's
this
not so much
horrible look
pleasure.
on his face, and didn't enjoy it at all. So
Oh
I won't be using that
That's a
survival
pretty
technique.
sustainable food source, though. You know, you just like build a well into the land, put 15 or 20 in there, and in a couple of weeks they're
Shoot
gonna
out for-
rebuild it.
But you're eating sea cucumber.
It's really funny. Just
It's
scare 'em.
sustainable, but it's still sea cucumber.
Only in America.
Oh my gosh.
It's not a good sustainable.
No. Jeez, poor thing.
It might be if you're trying to demonstrate something else.
It's replenishable, I guess.
It's a hostile environment. Those all they are is a cucumber. What are they gonna? That's all they got. But
It's a terrible defense mechanism. Let me harm myself to
Yeah.
feed you.
Oh
You know,
my gosh.
World goes round.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but moving from a small place to a bigger place is a huge change. It's a huge change, and trying to adapt. Pretty much, you restart your business again.
yeah.
That's what it was coming out here. It was a restart.
In some way, most of people who live around us for 5 years, and they was like, "What? You've been around for 5 years?"
I got a great idea.
Yeah.
I can put it in the interview because by the time this interview's out, we can kind of be advertising it. Why don't we have Beercraft do a pop-up here, and we do like a 12-course beer pairing, 12 different beers, beer tasting.
That'd be great.
Good.
It's not really an interview. It's just it's a question.
Yeah. I mean, that would be
It'd definitely be
great.
something we need to discuss. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've
That'd be fun.
we've done something before. We did an event with Heart of Darkness, Beercraft, and not Beercraft, Beervana, and we did something like that before. But before it was kind of releasing our bar menu, because at the time we were doing just small eats for the beers.
We pretty much was opening. That was our grand opening because
That was our first week.
Get some awareness.
Yes,
get some people
because
in the
we
door.
did not want to have like a James Bistro opening again. That doesn't make sense. We're not like a new business, and we don't want to be like people just come in the first day and have the same thing. So that night we have 3 company, 3 different beer, and we have a lot of like bar bite for people to accommodate with all the type of beer that we carry. And we have some acoustic, some singer playing, and we had a lot of people. But what we're trying to do is we're not trying to create an environment that is a kind of like
Bar.
yeah.
Kind of. We're trying to
Yeah.
get to that level, but then take one step back from
Yeah,
that.
exactly. We want this because around here you have beer draft, you have all of other tap rooms.
You got Saigon Craft,
Yeah.
Mall, Ruby Tavern.
Yeah.
We
A
just
lot of
walked-
people.
It looks like the Pastor Street here closed,
I think about a month ago, I think so.
but
Yeah.
like
It's a hard area.
2
for
doors
Western.
before it, though,
It's
there's a Heart of
east-west.
Darkness and Pastor Street sign on a little bar. You know, so it's like, you know, it didn't work out for them with their tap room, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
they still have a presence here.
Yeah. So
It's tricky.
that's the reason why we don't want to like step on anyone's foot, and we just want to be here to support. You know, because Pastor have tap room here, east, west, I believe. They also have another tap room here.
Well, they're at the
And-
Speakeasy, aren't they?
No,
No.
just close by, like
Mm.
pretty much 3 door or 4 a door down to Pastor Street. They already have the tap room there, and then also we have the biggest beer place here is the Saigon Beer Craft.
Saigon Craft.
Saigon Craft.
Saigon
yeah.
Craft. I mean, yes, Saigon Craft. So they
And there's
have
no competing with them.
Yeah, and
No
we
way.
we're not here to compete, you know.
No, but I see what you're saying. But
Mm.
this is fine dining and yeah.
Casual.
Well, you say you like to dirty it up a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm gonna wear the toque, you know.
we want
And then, but also you can have a craft beer with your meal
Exactly.
or a glass
Yeah.
of wine.
Yeah, exactly. We want it to be casual, but casual in a full
Casual,
way.
classy. Yeah.
Not that that you can come here and get drunk and have a bunch of friends, act.
And I want to add, anybody comes out here, your families are welcome, but this isn't Chuck E. Cheese.
Wow, my God, no. I mean, we respect everyone, and as long as the table do not have the effect on other table, we don't give a shit. We don't. We're here to do our professional job, to provide a service, to provide a product, but as long as yourself not affect other people, we don't give a shit. We'll serve you until, you
Party on, Darth.
Yeah, exactly. But we have
That's
a lot.
healthy attitude.
Yeah,
Mm.
since we moved out here, because over in a small place, we only have 3 tables. I was the main server and the only server, and he was the only cook and the only worker in the restaurant. So we never really had to deal with the adequate of customer. Most of our customers know us or from somebody, introduce somebody and become friends and become regular. So we never really have to deal with the mass, consumer behavior. But coming out here, we open our door to everyone.
It is a ride.
And it's
It's
difficult
fun.
because the type of food that we serve and the type of customer that we have are really family oriented, or money is not the problem. You can come here and have a cup of coffee or have a cup of soup. We treat you the same or even higher respect than you throw a bunch of money at us and have no respect for others. We have to send out quite a few customers already since we came out here, and we only been here for 5 months, and we have to send out customers because they literally had no respect for themselves, us, or others. So
That's a good policy.
It's not for the masses, that's for sure.
yeah,
Just
that is the
because
hardest
you
thing.
have
But
good bank accounts.
just
doesn't mean anything.
put it in perspective for listeners, what I was told about your place and when I first heard about it was just from a customer. You know, I didn't know anything about you guys, and it was Lucas, my friend. He's the owner of
Black, yeah.
He's a District 7 guy, so he was dining regularly at our restaurant. We were already open for a year when you had opened, and I heard about you right when you first opened. I didn't make it over there for about 6 months after that.
That's good. We had time to get ready.
And Lucas said great things about you. He said they're kind of like he goes, I don't know how to describe it, but he's from Oregon. He's like, it's the only place I've been where it feels like a farm to plate. Like everything on the menu, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of flavors. They're farming their own ingredients. They're getting their own chickens, and they're sourcing fresh, you know. And I was like, wow, that sounds really great. You know, I haven't had anything like that in the city.
We're the main slave.
And then when I dined, I quite enjoyed it. And then Tim, my partner, eventually, because we're all friends with Lucas. And then Lucas got sick and couldn't eat at your restaurant for 2 years, but he's better now.
I remember that.
Have you seen him?
Yeah.
Yep.
He told me when we went on the meat cruise, he said he was doing much better.
Yeah, he thought he had Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
And all the symptoms were the exact same.
He said it was a misdiagnosis.
Yeah.
It was a mixed diagnosis, and also the Crohn's disease diet was helping what was actually wrong with him. So
they thought that's what it was. Yeah.
But it wasn't getting better. And
it was just maintaining.
Oh, he couldn't eat nothing. It was terrible. So after I got that, he's much better now, though.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm sure you'll see him in here again.
Just double check.
But what that leads me to is when we walked up today, I see fresh herbs out in the flower beds, and then you mentioned you got a rooftop.
We got a garden up top too.
So you're continuing that whole farm to plate.
When it comes to garnish, they have to be fresh. Growing them is the only way to do it.
So just like you say, it's a reset. It's also kind of you're expanding on all those ideas that you started with.
4 years, you get comfortable doing things a certain way. But when you transition into a much larger location, you got to find out what works again. You know, it is like opening a new business. Everything we did over there does not work now. You know, so we've had to kind of reconstruct what it is we do in order to survive out here. You know, this is an expensive part of the city.
That's very similar. In our District 7, Quanudua, I don't know if you've been there recently. It used to have glass and there was inside air conditioning.
Yeah.
No longer.
Open.
It's all outdoor and open.
Yeah. I like that.
This area likes that more.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that street in particular has a bunch of open air restaurants.
Everyone around you is like a beer place.
Yeah, we've made a lot of adjustments there, and we're starting to. Yeah, we had to dig out of a hole. You know, it was like holy crap.
You find what works.
But I mean, you know, what worked here and what worked here for Quanudua didn't work here.
Yeah.
And it's like, why didn't it work here?
Yeah,
and you better figure it out.
And then you start questioning everything. You're like, maybe we're just doing it wrong. You know?
No, but
it's tough.
at the same time, though, I really believe and I truly believe District 7 is a bitch.
Yeah.
It's fickle.
It is.
Yeah, it's fickle.
It is. I mean, you know, at least District 1, District 2, District 3, District 10, District whatever it is, you have people walking by, you have foot traffic. Here, you look at our restaurant, you must think that we have a lot of foot traffic, right? No, none. Like, literally the people walk outside, I'm not our customer. No, we never have anyone just walk by and, oh, I want to check out
It's
this
pretty
place.
uncommon. I wouldn't say never, but it's pretty uncommon.
Never. I never, literally, unless they already walk by many times and it's just in their head and they say, okay, one day I will plan to make a trip to this restaurant. Then they plan it to come here.
A lot of thing about the Korean community is they typically stick to their own.
Yeah.
You know,
They don't support
and that's why
others. They support their own.
even though in this area you'll see probably about 45 or 50 Korean restaurants in the Hunza area.
Or more.
Yeah, or more.
Or more.
They all survive. 95% of them survive because the community here, they stick to their own.
Yeah.
You know, so for having a Western restaurant, it's a little tricky.
So that's we realized with our because we have one District 7 restaurant, so I can relate to you guys.
Absolutely.
We thought we're going to get a lot of Koreans being out in District 7.
Yep.
We do,
Yep.
but 80% of our customers are Vietnamese.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, maybe we're chasing the wrong. They're going to come, and that helps. Every
Yeah.
little bit helps.
Yeah.
But
But
what would
focus
you
on
say
who
your
your
percentage
customer
is?
base
Is
is.
it probably
Yeah.
down under 20%?
Not even. I would
Yeah.
say
Pretty low.
like between 5 to 8%.
Yeah, pretty low.
Very, very low. And we are
Which is amazing
in the
because
center.
Each night you see like 200 people.
I would
walk
say
by.
this for other restaurant owners and even listeners, if you want to be a restaurant owner, you just explained and experienced the exact same things I went through. As soon as
Yeah.
you're in another location,
Yep. You
every-
start over
even if it's a
again.
better location,
Yeah.
you got to figure it out
It's a
again.
whole new
It's
business
not the
plan.
same.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to deal with much bigger problem. Yeah, because with the experience and all the solution that you already built over the year with
Don't work anymore.
no it doesn't.
Learning curve is
oh my
tight.
god. And I'm just like, wow, this is good. This is good because in America, and that's why I keep saying this and I keep,
She's convincing me for us not to close and go back home. That's what it is.
pretty much. No, it's not that. I don't think so. It's not that. It's once in a while when I'm like in the most darkest place, I would have to pat myself in the back and say, holy shit, if this was in America, would we be able to do this and survive?
This is the land of opportunity.
That is the thing, because we always have a way to go home. We
But there's
American.
no way to come back.
Yeah.
I tell you, once we cash out, that's it.
Yeah,
Right.
because we American, there's always home for us there, right? But the problem is, can we do the same thing? And I mean, yeah, it's shit as fuck. But this is our love. This is our love. Because without doing this shit, we don't know what else to do. So can we do the same thing and have the control and have the responsibility and do what we exactly love and want in America?
It would take quite an empire here to be able to cash that in for just one restaurant that does the same thing.
Not even a food truck.
Yeah, even the food
saying,
trucks.
like, not even a
Base,
food truck.
base cost is $100,000.
Yeah.
And that's for something tiny. No
Yeah.
AC, no equipment.
I think a lot of people
you know
don't
this.
realize
We just opened our beer truck. We have
Yeah.
the craft beer truck. In Vietnam,
Yeah.
just like a restaurant,
Yeah.
the numbers are in proportion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I won't say exactly, but if a beer truck like ours in America,
Yeah.
which we have 7 beers on draft and a kitchen that can, with a fryer, a flat top, and a fridge and a sink, we can churn out food for several hundred guests. Simple, like hot dogs,
Yeah.
French fries, burgers,
functional kitchen,
sandwiches. But yeah, just like fair food. We could crank
Yeah.
it out.
Paddy wagon style.
If it costs $100,000 in the U.S., it costs under $20,000 here to build the exact same truck.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that stuff I don't think is mass produced
Yeah.
here, so it's harder to find.
So
Yeah.
we built our truck a few months ago,
Yeah.
and now there's about 10 running around the city already.
Jeez.
Everyone's jumping on.
Oh man.
But
Well,
see, this is the
there
thing.
was a law that passed not too long ago that made that legal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like
We are licensed. We can sell under our restaurant license.
oh,
Any private property anywhere in probably the country, but Ho Chi Minh for
Can you
sure.
drop, stop, and open up shop right in front of Vivo?
no.
If not on the sidewalk and not on the street, that's the rule. If there's anywhere that has some land that can fit you,
Oh, that's
you
fantastic.
can.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
a driveway.
Like pretty
That's-
much
yeah.
a property that belongs to somebody. As long as it's not public
So
property.
what would you say? You got Jan's Bistro, then you got Jan's Truck.
Well, actually, we really want to do that. You
Maybe.
know.
It sounded like
Hey,
fun,
I mean,
but-
if you want to put a truck outside, you can use a sidewalk.
See, in North Carolina, in Wilmington, this is the normal thing on the weekends because the 2 military bases there, and it's a college town. Everybody comes into the city on the weekends, so there's an influx of probably 30,000 people every weekend. There are food trucks everywhere, everywhere. And to me, even at 18, I realized like, I want to do that. That guy works for himself. He's got his own vehicle to roll around. You know, he's only got one guy helping him. He's only got to pay for it. Oh, that's great.
But you see, the American dream 15, 20 years, 30 years ago that we had in America, it's repeating it here. It's
Yeah.
repeating itself here because in America,
It's corporate controlled. You can't compete with
F the
that.
And
American
that's
dream.
slowly turning here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Like
think?
if you want to open a restaurant in District 1,
Yeah,
You better have a payroll.
5 years ago, you could come in and well under $100,000
Mm-hmm.
establish a nice restaurant. It's getting very, very difficult to do it for less than that now.
yeah, yeah.
And the rental rates in D1 are going up.
Rentals doubled,
Extremely.
tripled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
it's harder to survive here now. You
Okay.
know, people think that it's easy to survive with a restaurant, but it's not.
So on this, we've kind of gotten onto a different topic. What has been the biggest challenge of the whole business? And so for our listeners, Michael was just pointing at Jim.
No, I wasn't. No.
So I'm the pork problem now.
So the challenges of doing business here, we can afford to, and the opportunity is here. But what has been the biggest challenges?
I'll let you give your answer first. That way I'm safe.
Languages.
Communication?
Yeah. Communications. Standard of just, you know, your job, standard of the quality of
Quality
things,
standard.
of, you know, if you promise this, you will deliver that, you know, standard. And the self-responsibility. That's my 3 biggest things.
Those are the challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's easy.
Get
I would
the
say.
fuck out.
I would say, to be honest, a big part for me would be the like you said, the work responsibility, the ownership, but the accountability, being accountable. The problem with here is with staffing, there is so many jobs to be had. If this job doesn't work out, that's okay. Tomorrow I'll have a new job. The necessity of keeping a job here is very low, and that makes it hard to train and keep good staff. Because to them, why do I want to try so hard and work on myself when I can take the easy route, work 12-hour days, make the same pay, but then not have to think about anything about work, you know? So there's the personal accountability. Yeah,
Mhm.
there are no phones in my kitchen.
Yeah.
No.
There's no phone in our restaurant,
Yeah,
and
no phones.
The
That's
funny
good.
thing is, you know, we just had I just sat down with my girls just a couple of days ago, and we just ate lunch, and they just out of nowhere, you know, when it's off work and we eating lunch, we more peers than, you know, managers and staff, and they really close with me, so they's like, if James Bistro no longer exists, and if I don't work at James Bistro, I would never work at anywhere as a server or serving any people.
That's lucky though. You've built a really amazing camaraderie with them now.
Because
Something that doesn't just come with the job. Something you instilled in them.
because truly for me and for my staff, you know, now they are like family to me, and they have to say it's really funny because every single one who we got, you know, a new server or new waitress, and they came in and they asked for the job, within the first week or 10 days, the old staff would tell the new staff this one thing and one thing only: there's a price for everything that you have to pay. Learn that there's a price for everything, because the new
We'll
staff
teach you, but
would be
it
so
requires something.
surprised, would be so shocked, because how easy and how easygoing I am, how easy, like I don't give a shit about her or him positions. I'm sorry, this is a show. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, we can edit that.
Yeah.
Every F-bomb, every
You know, I'm
we
very,
got a filter for that.
yeah.
All right, good.
Mike will say I'm
I don't
very
think we've ever
animated,
censored
so
anything.
yeah.
Jen is a very animated person.
Yeah, he hate that, but
No.
it's okay. Yeah, but then like all the girls think, and all the new staff think that, oh wow, this place is so easy. They must be American. That's the American way. And I always tell them, no.
That seems like you guys learned a very, very important thing with that.
Yeah.
In America, you just take it for granted, you know. Like when this guy's in the kitchen, he can run those 2 stations.
Yeah.
And he's going to take pride in it and ownership. Here, you have to build that with them. It's culturally, that is one thing that is very different.
Yes.
For people who coming out here and do a restaurant, this is a big one.
Yes, yes.
To be honest, in the States, it was very easy to just yell. You know, like they will listen. If you scare them enough, they will listen. They will follow you. Here, if I raise my voice one time, they'll all walk out that front door. So
Well, you just lost face.
and I just
Yeah.
I have to.
You're the one that lost face when you
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
have
like
to literally.
culturally, you have to flip
Yeah.
that.
Oh.
You have
Yeah.
to say, "Hey, you did a good job on this, and this." Like you start with
But
that.
this,
But-
yeah.
But we can really work on this.
Yeah.
There's a key word. There's a key
It's funny.
word.
They tell me, they say, "Wow, you never get mad," and inside it's just like I feel the water boiling, and it's like, "You never get mad." It's like, never, never. You know,
No.
that was something I had to learn
Because
in
he
the first
has
2 years.
his wife would tell him, Michael, it would be like the invisible head shaking, literally 360 degree. Michael, don't do that. Don't do that. We only have one fucking person to help. Please, please.
Now I'm pretty nice to him, but now there's just that base fear that like, well, he could get mad.
No, but we see. I feel like I get it. I get it now that most of people, when they say, and this is like a myth that I just eye-opening for me, like in the last 3 years, when people's like, "Oh, you're American. That's why." What the fuck does that mean? What is that mean? What is that mean? But I get it now that European, Vietnamese, other country, other continent, other freaking world has way to insult people
Nicely.
without insulting them. But American, instead we say the F word, we say, you know.
The American way is a bit too direct.
Yes, the American way is very, very direct. So it's really, really awesome that I get to learn that, okay. And yes, I look Vietnamese, and my own mother called me a banana. And I was like, what is the banana, mom? And she would introduce me to people, oh, this is my daughter, she's banana though. I said, what is the banana? And she's like, Jane, look at a banana. Inside is white, outside is yellow. I was like,
Thanks, Mom.
I was like, thanks a lot. She's like, Jane, this is Vietnam. You cannot be a banana in Vietnam. You have to be Vietnamese. I was like, I can't.
I like bananas.
I can't. Oh, I know you like some bananas. That's why you're in Vietnam. Yeah. But it just the way you have
American banana, very big.
Yeah. but we really appreciate the experience and all the circumstances that shit throw at us in the last 4 years that we working, because it's make us grow. Yeah,
Cool.
really. Yeah.
So, you got any questions before we finish up? I got one. So, well, this kind of is what's next, but we always ask what do you see is next for you in the culinary world, in the food business.
It's hard for me to nail it down to one thing. I would say for us, we just keep trying. We just keep trying every day. Try to keep finding new ways to do things. I think after our discussion together, it's continuing to find ways to make the local Korean community happy and get them in, because they're such a large part of this community here. So I think for me, as far as food goes, that's kind of my direction to kind of wiggle to. So,
Cool.
what you got?
I'm not specifically
To get your chef to listen more? That one?
No, I'm not specifically one to grow in the Korean direction. No, we are who we are. We Western people. We're not here to make fusion food for Korean people. We're not here to make fusion food to make the Asian community here happy. No, we're here to cook Western food and introduce the Western food, real Western food, into the real, local community, and somehow
I think there's a way you can do both.
You can do both.
You know,
There's a way.
What I mean by that is, I think he means getting them in the door to try your food.
Yeah.
You know, that's.
There's got to be
You
an
can always
appeal
be
to them.
creative and always stay true to what you
Yeah.
are.
No,
But
we're
there's
American.
nothing wrong with wanting to get those guys to.
No,
what is
no.
this all about?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
But I don't also want that to has an effect on our
Sure.
existing customer
Mm.
because we work
It can
really
get pretty
really
loud
hard.
around bunches.
Yeah,
It
we
can.
work really hard in the last 4 years to have this environment, and we understand this is not something that Vietnam used to. You know, to go into a typical bistro in America, you already have the typical service that you have here. But here is the standard. That's what I'm saying. In the next 4 year or 5 year, we hope somehow we can educate ourselves in order to somehow accommodate the local culture and the local perspective to accept us. That's what
That's
we,
a big part of it.
Yeah.
You hit it on the head.
yeah, that's to accept us, because what we do is not fine dining, not the crazy type that you have to go in and spend 10 million for 4 people.
And it's
With-
a 6-hour dinner. you
yeah,
know?
exactly. We here to serve typical Western family or
A la carte
family
menu, set
oriented
menu.
local customer that can spend, I don't know, like 1.8 million for 5 or 6 people and still get the Western standard of experience. But in order to do that, they have to accept us and let us do our thing. They cannot come in and not even sit down yet and say, hey, is the appetizer coming out? When? How many minutes?
I wish people realized that, like, as soon as that ticket hits the window, I am like full overdrive to get that food out the window as fast as possible.
We are not
There's
here
never that
to
issue.
fry KFC. We don't just drop the chicken in and pick it up and here you go. There's
Shit,
so
shit.
many things have to, go into the dishes and the service. So just let us do our job and let us give us the opportunity to educate ourselves. That is our biggest thing.
She's the one who discusses professionally about our business. I'm kind of standing in the back like,
No, that's not true. That's not true.
somebody's got to be that way.
Well, it takes 2 to tango,
Yeah.
I can't dance by myself. I can't dance, period. But, 2 of us can roll around together on the floor.
That's what it was like when we left Fogo de Chao. For sure.
Any dancing, as long as people are having fun.
Yeah.
So as a
Dancing,
fellow,
nobody's watching.
as a fellow person who
Oh my
has,
gosh.
I don't have dancing jeans.
Yeah.
As long as we
know,
happy,
you know.
right? As long as we happy.
Exactly.
That's all that matters.
I just have one more thing, unless we think of something to pop in. But I noticed all the plants you have in here, and we had a little chat about how you have the basil growing outside and some other things growing outside. I want to ask you about food sourcing. So obviously, quality of food and where you get your food from is very important when you're selling food to eat. How do you guys look for food, your sources, and where you get it from?
Well, we have our own little farm. Our mother have own little farm in Dalat. So some of the stuff we can just grow it there, and it's very, very easy. It's like 5
She
minutes.
comes back, twice a week, so she just brings a big.
Or we
case.
ship it down from Dalat by bus, which is the farm is 10 minutes away from Melon Cafe in Dalat, which is 30 minutes away from the city. So everything there is very great for the weather conditioning, for organic or whatever we want to grow.
That's awesome.
Yep.
What are some of the things? Do you just do vegetation, or are
Yeah.
there animals too?
No,
We
not
don't do
animal.
our own animals now.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have the hand to do that yet.
Okay.
So animal we source at farm, that from friends farms or family farm, that they have organic chicken, running chickens or pork and pig and cow that they have. Most of the beef we use are imported. It's it's quite difficult to get beef in Vietnam.
For
I can get
restaurant-
amazing tenderloin, veal tenderloin here, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all restaurants in the region. The
Yeah.
beef is
It's-
Aussie or U.S. or Canadian.
Yeah, you can't even we even try the cow that they bring from Australia and raise it here.
Yeah.
And they just don't do as well.
They
No,
don't.
no,
The
meat is
environment's
just-
different. Yeah, the grass is different. The
Yeah.
environment's different.
In nutrients-
But
Vegetation
I was
isn't as
told
rich.
by beef suppliers in this region that, and when I say region, I mean all of Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Thailand has been trying to do exactly that for
Yeah.
almost 20 years now,
Yeah.
And they can't.
and they're closer.
They are, really?
Their beef is getting
Oh,
to a
really?
pretty good level, but
Oh.
that's hybriding animals that can. They live in a different climate. The grass grows at a different rate.
We had this discussion 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did.
And Vietnam just started bringing those animals in 2 or
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
So in 20 years, they're
It's
just
gonna take. They're just now hitting it at 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, they're-
it's gonna take 30 years
Yeah,
for
but-
the propriety.
and still, from the beef supplier that told me this information, he said that beef is not up to the quality of Aussie or American. Or,
no.
So he goes, it's good, it's better than any of the stuff has ever been, but it's 20 years in the making, and that's technology and farming practices and responsible farming
Yeah.
and getting the animals what they need. Vietnam's way behind on all of it.
It's
Pork
gonna take a long
in Vietnam.
time.
I'm glad that they started because
Yeah.
you got to start.
gotta start somewhere, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But pork, the quality of pork in Vietnam is amazing. Like there is no way you can. I mean, yes, in some part of America, small farm, whatsoever, they have higher quality of pork.
Yeah.
But the pork in Southeast Asia, I have to say, yes, it is getting more commercial and commercialized, and the commercialized stuff
It's a little
is
different,
just
but if you're
not
still getting
as
farm
good.
farm pork, yeah, it's
But if
amazing.
you still get the baby pork, the pork that they raise in a small farm, it's amazing quality. And seafood, we get it fresh from Nha Trang. If 4 years ago we heard about the lake from the factory that
the steel runoff when they're importing steel.
they dumping out all the toxic from the steel manufacturing in Hue.
That's
You-
what I just said.
You can look it up.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, but they did not dump steel out.
No, when they're shipping it in, they have a byproduct that's called red steel, which is a byproduct of the steel making. And it's when they're taking it off the boat, that's where it gets dumped into the water.
What-
I have seen pictures. I have
Whatever
seen-
shit it is, we went out to Nha Trang and he made me go diving so we can get
That
the
was so much
fish and go examine it and send it into the lab and test it, and I almost
You almost got impaled by a sea urchin.
yeah
Yeah.
that
So,
was a
and
great experience.
outside of Nha Trang, depending on where you go, they get up to 10 feet. I mean, these things are like at the bottom. Their spines are almost 10 feet high.
Sea urchins?
Massive, massive.
Don't fucking listen to him. Like, no,
I swear on your life
yeah.
that they get that big. I
About
swear.
an hour from Nha Trang because we have to go out because all the boat have
I
to go
didn't
out.
realize sea urchins got that big.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fucking massive.
They not
massive.
10 feet.
It-
I'm just lying. Yeah, but anyway, they was really big. They was really big.
If it was half that
So
size,
It was
yeah.
huge. So she couldn't figure out how to use the scuba suit to get down.
Yeah.
You know, you got to let all the air out and then blow all the air out and just kind of like tread water up. And she couldn't figure it out. We were out there for about 2.5, 3 hours, and then finally she got it. Underneath her is like I don't know what they
bed,
call
about
a group of sea urchins,
a bed, pretty much.
urchins, all hanging out. And there's one 10 feet. It's like 6 feet. But there's one spine going straight up,
Oh,
and she
Jesus.
comes down. She finally figures out and comes straight down, and she's like that far in front of it. And me and the instructor were looking at her like, no. And she's like,
and I keep thinking.
I got it, guys. We're
I
like,
keep
no.
thinking. I was like, and I got so panicked. But anyway,
but
the
doing
whole
doing
trip.
the due diligence
Yeah.
for the seafood was
Yeah,
one
the
of the
whole
better
trip
things
went
about
out there was to check the quality, to test, and to make sure that
Seeing the environment they're coming out of
exactly
firsthand, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Mhm.
It's pretty amazing. She wouldn't go in the crevices and the ravines. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
It's a plan.
So there's a lot of things that I have done for this business that I would have not done for myself.
Next one will be skydiving. We'll be getting seagulls out of the air. That's how we're going to check the quality of seagulls.
I'll get seagull out of your eyes.
Yeah. She wanted to say something else, but it'll get edited out anyway. Yeah.
Well, Jane, Michael, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. This was a
Yeah,
pleasure.
Thank you,
thank you.
Thank you for the
so much.
cappuccino. Also,
Thank you.
delicious.
That's the family's coffee. Jane's
Oh, cool.
mom sits up at the table at 1 o'clock in the morning picking out the best beans.
The farm that we have
Also does
does coffee also
That's awesome.
because when we got the farm, there's already a lot of coffee tree that's still there. But this is old coffee. This is 30, 40
Yeah, these
years
trees are really old.
coffee tree. So we didn't want to waste it. So we took, I think my mom, not me, took 2 years in order to recycle all the soy and
Yeah, but she's got a
Yeah.
coffee plantation.
But now
She puts off about a ton a year. I think.
Yeah.
About a ton a year.
not a ton a year. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Don't listen to this shit. I'll grab a bag of coffee so you can